Pastor Daryl Kozak from Peace Lutheran Church to provide us for our invocation. Thank you.
Good evening. As we gather this night, I invite you to a time of silence to center our thoughts. Let us pray. Gracious God, whom we call by a variety of names, we give you thanks for this, our city of Corona, that we call home. And we pray for all its people, especially our most vulnerable, the aged, the ill, persons with disabilities, our children, persons struggling with financial hardships, and the unhoused. Continue to be with and bless organizations that provide for the needs of others. And in this month of Gay Pride, we give thanks for the diversity of our city, especially our LGBTQ sisters and brothers. As we invoke your presence this night, we pray for these elected public servants of our city council, Tony, Tom, Jackie, Wes, Jim, and Chad. We pray, O God, that they do their work in a spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice. Inspire them to use their authority to serve faithfully, to make wise decisions, and to promote our common life. Guide our leaders to govern in such a way that all people enjoy a peaceful and just society. We offer all this and more in your name. Amen.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite Sam Ramirez, who will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sam? Yeah. Hold on one second. We're gonna present you with a certificate, and then we're gonna take a quick picture. Thank you. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to convene the open session. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Individuals wishing to address the City Council are requested to complete a speaker card and deliver it to the City Clerk staff prior to the item being heard by the City Council. Please observe a 3-minute time limit for communications. And once called upon to speak, please state your name and city of residence for the record. There's one revision to the agenda, item number 9. There was a revision to the staff report and to the attachment. And now I'm going to move on to our proclamations. So obviously this month is June, which is Pride Month, and I would like to invite Karen Height to receive the proclamation. Thank you. So give me a minute because I got to catch my breath. There's a lot of whereases and.
That's cool.
You sure?
Yeah, because I don't know how well I'm going to perform.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. So, yeah, June, we are celebrating in proclamation of Pride Month. We're very honored that you are here to accept this proclamation on behalf of everybody that are friends, allies, and part of the LGBTQ plus community. Always make sure to get those right. They seem to be expanding, so I want to make sure that everybody is included. So you are here to kind of tell us a little bit about your experience as an advocate, and I know that you have some friends, so I'll let you invite everybody down.
All right. So first, I want to thank the City of Corona for acknowledging and honoring LGBTQ Pride Month. And I'm so glad that our mayor allowed our allies and LGBTQ people here tonight to join me, because this is all about you too. Come on, guys. Come on down, join me.
I'm sorry, I wanted to also invite my council colleagues down so that they could participate in this. Should have done that before, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Jim was
My buddy, Jim Steiner. Thank you for being here, everybody. Wow, that's awesome. So awesome. Hi, Alan. Okay. All right, well, I can't memorize things, so I'm just going to read. You're probably wondering who the heck I am, who Karen is. I've lived here in Corona since 2007, and I was nominated by Tracy and Sally, who received it last year. They nominated me because they know of my activism 30 years ago, 1993, and I've shared that information with them, and I appreciate the nomination from you gals. In April 1993, I went to the March on Washington for lesbian and gay rights. It was not called LGBTQ+. There was no such thing. And I ended up on the front page of the Orange County Register newspaper in an above-the-fold photograph with my name in the caption, and at the time, I worked for the Orange County edition of the Los Angeles Times, so it was kind of funny. And I also sold advertising for a publication called Lesbian News. In 1994, I was on the board of directors of Orange County Cultural Pride, which was the Gay Pride event. They changed names since then. It was the first year that the Pride Parade was allowed to take place on a city street, and the parades were inside the park, or in this case, at UCI. This time, that year in '94, the parade took place in the city of Irvine on Campus Drive, so on a public street. I want to tell you that I came out in 1980 when I was 21 years old. There were no books, no television, no internet, and of course, nobody talked about being gay. No rainbow t-shirts, no pride flags or displays in stores, etc. Nothing in schools. Either you are or you're not LGBTQ+. A book, a movie, a TV show, the internet, a rainbow t-shirt is not going to turn somebody into anything other than what they already are. I want to remind everyone that pride is important because someone tonight believes that they're better off dead than being themselves. And that's truly sad. If you've never had a Supreme Court case decide if you have the same rights as others, then you have privilege. Equality is nothing more and nothing less. Be careful who you hate. It could be someone you love. We the people means everyone. I'm honored to accept the City of Corona proclamation acknowledging LGBTQ Pride Month, and thank you very much.
So we will congregate right here in front of the podium, and we'll take a picture. And I would like for you to hold that.
Thank you.
And that's for you to keep. Thank you.
And anybody who wants to be in the picture, please
Absolutely.
be in the picture with me, because it's all about everybody.
As they are making their way back to their seats, we have a presentation from the Northwest Mosquito Vector Control District update. I'd like to invite Nancy Jimenez Hernandez, our Northwest Mosquito and Vector Control District Board member, to provide the presentation.
Good evening, council members and audience. I've got an update from Northwest. Happy to share that they've been super, super busy. We've been getting a lot of calls, as they've told me. As you can see, swimming pools have been an issue as of late. And in the spring, especially, we've had some homes that have issues and they've been calling. So a high number of swimming pools have been inspected and treated in the city of Corona. This is typically done in the spring, and pools with mosquito larvae are treated with residual products. Residents receiving a notice can text a photo and their clean pool to the district's pool line at 951-870-0607. Now, there's a form, and I've been told it's already popped up on the website, but it's also our Northwest Mosquitoes website. But you can be happy to, you are encouraged to call if you have an issue. If they can't help you, they could at least assess it. I know that Jim contacted me, and a couple of residents had contacted me about bee situation. So I don't know what their limitations are, but they're happy to assess and see if they can help, or at least help you navigate, who to call and who to follow up with. Alrighty? So far, so good. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for the update. Next, we have a presentation on our volunteer program update, and I'd like to invite Madeline Black, Community Services Program Coordinator, to provide the presentation.
Good evening. My name is Madeline Black. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Madeline Black. I am the Volunteer Program Coordinator for our city. This presentation today is just for informational purposes. There is no ask. So we're just here to provide you an update and share some of this good news. And I did want to share that all of the images you will see in my presentation are actual volunteers for our city. Is there a clicker? Okay, so let's start off and say, thank you so much. There are quite a few avenues for anyone to volunteer within our city now. So if someone were to start their search via the internet, they would find our web interest form, which is visible on the city's website, as well as our volunteer landing pages. If they call the city looking for volunteer opportunities, anyone within the community, that'll also be connected to me. So anyone interested in an opportunity with the city will find the process quite easy, be it with PD, fire, or within the community services department, which feature the most active volunteer programs within our city. The largest team of volunteers is actually within our department, which is community services. And I recruit for these volunteer opportunities at a monthly orientation that you'll see pictured here. This was a meeting that we hosted in the fall of 2022 where we had over 90 interested candidates participating in our volunteer orientation. At this orientation, I walk candidates through the entire application process and market all of our long-term and single-day volunteer opportunities. So as I mentioned, yeah, it's a pretty fun picture there. Okay. Of course, we also take this show on the road and meet our residents where they are. We actively participate in community events, accept invitations to share what we do with the community, and utilize social media channels to recruit and share the impact from our volunteer team members. A great example is our recent trip to Corona High School, where my colleague Jose and I spoke to 200 AVID students about our college experience, our careers, volunteer opportunities, as well as how to apply for a summer job within the city. This opportunity started, this connection began when they were interested in our park adoption volunteer opportunities. And we're already forming connections for the next school year within Corona High and Centennial. On the right, you'll see that these opportunities for volunteering their presence at the community cleanup events have made these public-facing events even more visible through our social media channels, through pictures and videos that have been shared. Just to give you an idea of how much love these events are getting online, an engagement is a click, like, or share. So these posts have had over 13,000 engagements, over 76,000 video views just within our community cleanup events. We had one video shared almost 50 times. So we're working hard to let our residents know about the great work we are doing to keep our spaces beautiful. And I gotta say, we've been quite busy. First up, in 2022, it really was the year for volunteering in our parks, trails, and open spaces. Corona Beautiful Community Cleanups, or as I've started to call them, CBCC, have made a significant impact throughout our town. If you would like to see our residents taking ownership of these public spaces, come check out the events where they're literally rolling up their sleeves and putting in the work. We are planting trees, clearing debris, painting, laying mulch, and even removing graffiti. These events are extremely popular. Many of our cleanups reach over 100 registered participants. We also accommodate a slew of closed group cleanup requests for larger organizations. We are working with scouts, nonprofits, our business community, and faith-based organizations. I also wanted to share this program by the numbers. In 2022, we hosted 10 events within Corona Parks, and in these 10 events, we had 615 participants. These participants donated 1,200 hours of service to our community within our parks. Now in 2023, we're concentrating on these public spaces. And we can boast that we've almost had 300 volunteers contribute over 700 hours. And that's just 5 events in. We still have 5 to go within this calendar year. So we already anticipate surpassing last year's statistics. Corona really does love to volunteer. This year, we're going to continue this amazing work by helping residents invest their efforts in the community by continuing with the successful Corona Beautiful community cleanups, ongoing community services opportunities, and referrals for other city departments. Here is our upcoming dates for the remainder of the year. If you or anyone within our audience would like to participate, feel free to join me and the Parks team this Saturday along Mountain Gate Drive. We'll be there from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., planting 115 trees. We're also excited to share that the new Adopt a Park program is now in its pilot phase. So groups can now apply to take on independent park cleanups. We're working with these first few community groups right now to establish how this program will work going forward as we open it up to the community at large. I'm also super excited to share that our volunteer-led guided hikes are now in development. With our park ranger team, which have undertaken a naturalist course to ensure that this new program is educational, fun, and allows our volunteer team members to become experts in our local flora and fauna. We will be doing some piloting this summer and expect to launch this program to the community in the fall. So even if you're not interested in the great outdoors, I do have opportunities for you. In community services, for example, we greatly rely on volunteers to bring life to our library, our community center, the Circle City Center, or our senior center through these dedicated opportunities. So what does that look like? We have formalized more than 20 of these opportunities, created standard operating procedures, position descriptions. We are fortunate to have a lot of really good local talent that we can tap into for our programs. Pictured here, you'll see a storyteller at the Corona Public Library, an exercise class at our senior center, and food distribution at the Circle City Center, all being led by volunteers. I use the recruitment and onboarding processes to react to staff needs, accommodate opportunities to allow group participation, and even diversify some of these opportunities by offering reasonable accommodations. This dedication of time is pivotal for managing so many different opportunities. Of course, we also help refer our colleagues in other departments like fire and PD. They operate independently, but we do play a role in their onboard process. On the back end, I'm also maintaining over 1,000 volunteer records within our system, accepting single-day volunteers, communicating regularly with those volunteers, and collaborating with our human resources and our legal team to make sure that our programs are to the best standard. So volunteers are quite an asset to our community. In fact, data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics values an hour of volunteer time at $29.95 an hour. This past year, Corona's community services, and that is from the independent sector. This past year, Corona's community services volunteers showed up and contributed over 17,000 hours. This represents a value within our community of over $520,000 in contributions. Continuing this trend of increased investments by our residents and their community, we are well on track to surpass last year's stats. Of course, we also have plenty of stories from our events that speak to this kind of contribution, like this mother and daughter duo that helped us paint the park benches at Parkview this last March. With such significant contributions, it's also important that we thank and show our appreciation for our volunteers. Throughout the year, we sustain this by remembering to thank them after the events they participate in, maintaining regular communication, sending out newsletters, and being available within the office. I'm always reachable. Social media posts highlighting our volunteers and the opportunities we have within the community, and little treats and tokens of appreciation. You know, a donut goes a long way at the community cleanup events. We also hosted our first celebration for our stellar volunteers at the Historic Civic Center that you can see pictured here last fall. Again, this was just for informational purposes. There is no ask today. We just wanted to share out all of this good news. I'm here if you have any questions about our program. I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Black. What a great story that you're telling about all of the wonderful volunteers that we have in the community and providing of their own free time to help beautify their city as well. So love to hear about the ownership. Great job.
Thank you.
And I'd like to add, Ms. Black, that you've taken the volunteerism and really just professionalized the program and really just taking it to a whole new level. And it shows, and it's just really awesome. I especially love the Corona Beautiful cleanups. I'm a big fan of that in general. I see other cities doing it. They put out signs on the day of, and I do wonder if that's an idea we can steal, where people see our crews, right, and they wonder what they're about, and we say, like, volunteer with us today. But other than that, they can't touch us. Like, the work you're doing, the volunteers, the amount of hours that they're putting in, and the care, it's really beautiful. And you're creating community while you're doing service. So good work.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Councilmember Steiner, did I hear that you were going to volunteer to lead hikes?
Yes.
I thought I heard that. Bring it on.
I'm signing up for senior exercise.
All right. Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public for the proclamation and presentations?
Yes, Mayor, we have one speaker card.
Welcome.
My name is Don Fuller. I'm a resident. Good evening, everyone. I first want to thank the council, Mr. D'Addario, and the rest of you for recognizing June as Pride Month. In the alphabet soup you see on your screen there, I'm the letter A out on the far right-hand end. It stands for ally. And within the group, I'm known as a straight ally. I'm as straight as a door jamb. And so sometimes people might say, Fuller, you don't have a dog in this fight. Why do you care? I care because I think everybody ought to be treated the same. It's no more complicated than that. I just think everybody ought to be treated the same. And there is some thought that humanity can be broken up into what's known as the binary. And the binary says that there are two groups of people. We have two boxes. And in one box, we have all the boys, and all the boys like girls. On the other box, we have all the girls like boys. And I'm here to tell you that's nonsense. There are not two boxes, and there are not 5 or 6 or 7 boxes. In my more than 3/4 of a century on this good earth, I have come to the inescapable conclusion that humanity is in fact a giant, vast tapestry. And it spreads in all directions, and it's got every color you can imagine and some you can't imagine. And it's got hills and vales, and it waves in the wind, and every single one of us is someplace on that tapestry. And we're all just part of humanity. Lady Gaga was right. We're all just born this way. That's just the way it is. And so that's how I see humanity, and I have known many, many, many people that are all over that big tapestry. And I would also like to clear up a little thing that a matter of choice. Nobody chooses to be there. It's not a matter of choice. It's not a matter of behavior. There's a church in town that has on its website that they disapprove of transgender behavior. I went to that church one day and asked the preacher what he meant. He didn't have any idea. There's no such thing as transgender behavior. It's not a lifestyle. It's not a trend, not a perversion, and certainly not a sin. And I will argue those points with anybody. So I'm just prepared to show that I support the simple concept of treating everybody the same. I think it's a fundamental concept of the establishment and the preservation of individual liberties, which, if I can dig a little bit back, is why my ancestors got onto the Mayflower and came here. It was for their individual liberties. So it's kind of an ironically conservative notion, but I think it applies to this case as well. So again, I just want to thank all of you for recognizing June as Pride Month, and we'll all go forward. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, we do have another speaker card for this item.
Sure, come on down.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. It's been a while since I've addressed the Council. By the way, my name is Anissa Escobedo, and I have a small business here in Corona. For the people that don't know, I am a male to female transgender individual. I probably am one of the most LGBT people that's in the public. So I do appreciate the Council in recognizing June as LGBT plus Pride Month. And with that being said, I am excited to share, now that I moved back about 3 months ago to my beloved city of Corona, that next year I will be, hopefully with other new friends, will be able to do the first ever Corona Pride picnic. The hope is to start it as a picnic and then evolve it from there to a full-scale Pride event after that. So if anyone is interested in helping that initiative, please contact me. Again, I would say that this is my hometown, and this is probably one of the most cities that I get the more support from in regards to the LGBT initiative. So thank you, Council, again for recognizing June as Pride Month. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our meeting minutes. The study session meeting of May 17th, 2023, and the City Council meeting of May 17th, 2023. Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public for the meeting minutes?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards.
Okay. Moving on to our consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine matters.
Mayor, sorry, we do need to take a vote on the meeting minutes.
Terribly sorry.
Second.
Still on vacation mode.
Mayor, we need your vote.
It's not on the screen, I promise.
I will take your voice vote.
Aye.
So you can't see who's making the motions?
It's not on the screen.
So it's just wild up here now?
Yeah. It's a good thing that you guys are so well trained. Yeah. I have broken your spirit. All right, moving on to the consent calendar. Yep. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine matters, status reports, or documents covering previous city council action. The items listed on the consent calendar may be enacted in one motion with the concurrence of the city council. A council member or any person in attendance may request that an item be removed for further consideration. Do my colleagues have any items that they would like to be pulled?
Yes.
Just 10?
Number 10 and number 15.
10 and 12.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards for the consent calendar.
Okay, so minus items 10, 12, and 15. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion, maybe, if I push the button.
I'll second.
I would like to again confirm that it is not on my screen.
You broke it.
It's not on yours either? Do you want to just take the motions aren't on the screen. Do you want to just,
I can do voice votes.
okay.
Councilmember Speak. Councilmember Steiner. Councilmember Casillas.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Richens.
Aye.
Mayor Daddario.
Aye.
And the item passes.
Okay. So item number 10 was pulled by Councilmember Casillas and Councilmember Speak. Do you guys want to rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first?
I just want to highlight this.
Me too.
So maybe City Manager Ellis, can we speak on this a little bit more? Maybe get a staff report? I just want to highlight the good work that's been done to get us to this point.
Absolutely. Donna Finch is prepared to speak to this item. Donna?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. So what we have before you tonight is a professional services agreement with Thorn Run Partners for professional federal lobbying services. This agreement is based off direction that was provided by the City Council previously to look beyond the lobbying services that we have right now, which we currently get services with Rainey Public Policy Group for state lobbying services. They've done a terrific job on keeping our focus on the state issues and keeping us up to date and lobbying on behalf of the city. However, we've had that need to go beyond to the federal level. So the staff released a request for proposals back in January to extend these services at the federal level. We received proposals from 5 firms and went through an extensive vetting process with a multi-departmental team, and we narrowed it down to Thorn Run Partners, which is the firm that is before you tonight in the agreement, to provide these services for a 1-year term with the option to extend for additional years if we feel that they are giving us the service to the level that we are expecting of it. So I'd be happy to answer any additional questions that you have about their proposal.
Thank you. No additional questions, but I do want to just remind everyone that way back when we used to have this, and it wasn't really.
Are you going to talk about your public firing?
Yes, it wasn't. Anyway, we don't have to go all the way back, but it wasn't beneficial in that we weren't seeing a real return on the contract. And what has changed now is that our federal electeds now have the opportunity once again to secure federal funds through, what is it called? No, I can't remember the term. Anyway, earmarks. That's what it is. Look at you. You're paying attention, Tom. Through earmarks. So that changed the landscape. And when we hired on RPPG for state lobbying, what we've seen is a real return on investment. We've secured last round we got $250,000 for fire hardening along Cleveland National Forest, right, Chief? And then we secured $2 million for Griffin Park. So the goal here is that this investment in federal lobbying helps us to replicate that effort, but on the federal side, and ideally secure funds through our efforts. So I'm excited to see this come back because now there is a real purpose for it, and we're staying on top of it. So thank you, Councilmember. Did you want to add?
Yes, I just I read I read a lot. I read this particular proposal, and it seemed great. There was one line that particularly made me chuckle, and maybe you can pass it on to them. They were talking about one of their members saying he was an active player in Washington policy-making milieu, which I always think that's an interesting word. I'm less interested in that, and really, modeling our federal approach from a wish list, which has been over the years, and direction to the path to the money, meaning how do we get there? This is a dollar and cents game as much as it is a political climate game. I want to know where the low-hanging fruit is and what we need to do and look like to get it. And that's what I want to see. I don't want to, us having introductions to people that we already know, introductions to different folks. I want to know how to get from point A to point B, which is using other people's money. So I saw that in the proposal. I saw a little bit of that, some a little bit of the flowery stuff, but that's okay too. But happy to see this come forward because there is an opportunity. We were very successful with Congressman Calvert last year. I think, what did we get? 10 million? 7 million? Something like that. Most of it for transportation, which I was very happy for because it was not coming from the state. But I'm looking at opportunity for us to expand from just having our connection to the congressman, but having connections in Washington. So hopefully these folks will do it for us. So thank you.
I'll make the motion for this item. Oh, wait, I think you have to check on. But after that, I'll make a motion.
And I'll second after that.
Ms. Edwards, do we have any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, no, we do not.
Okay,
Now I shall move this item for approval.
thank you.
Second?
I already seconded.
We're going to have to do a voice vote because I still don't have the,
Okay, we will do a voice vote. Councilmember Speak.
Aye.
Councilmember Steiner.
Aye.
Councilmember Casillas.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Richens.
Yes?
Mayor Daddario.
aye.
And the item passes 5-0.
Okay, the next item was item number 12, pulled by Councilmember Casillas.
This is another item that I would like for us to highlight the good work. This took a long time, and so I would love for our team to share the good work, and especially about the rates, the fares. So I'd love to, that and the routes, if you can remind everyone about the new routes, so.
Thank you, everyone. Mayor, thank you for having me, and City Council. Thank you for allowing me to present on the short-range transit plan. I'll give you a little bit of as far as what the current next year short-range plan is, and I didn't include the slides regarding the the new service changes, but I'll just highlight what that encompasses. And where's the? Thank you. So I just want to remind everyone, our services include a Corona Cruiser fixed route service, which is our blue line and red line, the citywide Dollar Ride services, which is for all seniors and persons with disabilities, and then we also have our Dollar Ride program, which provides complimentary paratransit in compliance with 88 3/4 mile corridor because we operate a fixed route service. We currently operate our services on weekdays and Saturdays. In our fleet, we have 20 vehicles, 13 which we use Dollar Ride, and 7 is our cruiser buses. This is our ridership data. As you can see, we're still not at pre-COVID. We're definitely making improvements. Most of the boost is from our fares because we're offering free fares to our riders, and we've seen a significant improvement. Just in this past month of May was our highest ridership in the entire fiscal year. So we're definitely happy about that. We definitely see that it's going to continue. This trend is going to continue as long as we can offer free fares. It's definitely boosting our ridership. This is our 23-24 transit operating budget. We have a $3.4 million operating budget. Majority of it is 85% is contracting services, and 85% of that, 85% is 90% is contracted transit operations. Current contract is with MV Transportation. We also have a contract with maintenance oversight services, which is basically they oversight our vehicles. They review, make sure that they're in state of good repair. So they do a triennial review of our vehicles, making sure our contractor is maintaining them to our standards that we have in our contract. Then we also have slated about $100,000 for consulting services, which would help with the new services that we have plans for implementation. Our salaries and benefits of our 3.4 is 5%, fuel 7%, and materials and supplies at 3%. And as far as our services, we do have our new improvements. We had options. The first option was scenario 1, one single route, which encompasses our blue line, red line, and a citywide microtransit option. And then we also had the second scenario, which included 3 smaller routes. So we changed from 2 routes to 3 smaller routes and 2 microtransit zones, as well as 10 microtransit destinations. What that allowed us to do is be able to transfer people from zone to zone, destination to a zone, as well as any key destination, microtransit zone, to a fixed route service. The new services basically is planned in a way that people would be able to make connections more easily and be able to connect north and south Corona. We did do we did have extensive outreach. And of that outreach, we did get, we had about 62% of the respondents responded that they preferred scenario 2, which is our 3 routes and the 2 microtransit zones. So that was the preferred option, just as our council had also preferred. So we're definitely moving forward. We're going to be bringing back to council in August the implementation plan. So that's what we're working with our consultant. So we look forward to presenting that soon.
Awesome. And remind me, the report said, and I just want to confirm, how long are we offering the free fares for?
3 years.
For the next 3 years, right? It just has to get approved by RCTC.
That's correct. That's correct.
So I wanted to add some context also to the conversation. So the distinction is that this is our annual action plan with a 3-year planning cycle. So this is an annual report that we do. The COA, which was the comprehensive operation analysis that we've been working on, as Sudesh said, will be coming back to council in August for ratification, for formal approval. In addition, we'll be bringing an implementation plan. But what the great news is that what we're doing is we're bridging the fares between now and when we implement all these new services. So the great news to our riders, to our seniors, to our students is that through this September, we have an LC Top grant that will cover all free fares for everybody through September of this year. And from September for 3 years beyond that, we have gotten the support of RCTC for us to get an additional 3-year worth of funding free fares for seniors, for students, and reduced rates for our general passengers. And so we're really happy because what we're able to do is go to our seniors with our dollar ride services. So for the Vintage Terraces of this world that used to have these fixed routes right in front of their facilities, we have better service now because we have now direct dollar ride services with the smaller buses that can actually get into a lot of these facilities and prevent, some of the seniors that have mobility issues. So we're really excited to be able to bridge those services while we take the time to implement a very big and massive change in services. So I just want to make that distinction.
So exciting. So then the new routes will be ratified. You said they're coming back to us in August. And so, and I'm looking forward to promoting that as much as possible so that folks are aware of all the great, the new routes and the availability, especially for our seniors and students to ride this for free.
Definitely, we're definitely going to need our council's, support on this, and we're
you got
excited.
it.
Definitely.
Do you want me to go lobby the RCTC person? I might know a few.
I can already say that RCTC is going to be we're budgeting for free Metrolink rides too for the summer as well.
That's great.
That's so cool. Great work, both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the update. Ms. Edwards, do we have any speaker cards on this item?
Mayor, no, we do not.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I will move to approve.
Councilmember Speak. Aye. Councilmember Steiner.
Aye.
Councilmember Casillas.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Richens.
Aye.
Mayor Daddario.
Aye.
And the item passes 5-0.
Okay, moving on to the last item, which was item number 15, and that was pulled by Councilmember Speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had one thing. I just wanted to highlight good work that the folks in Public Works are doing. This year, we're going to be paving 97 miles, which is a high. I think we've been averaging between 60 and 70 miles a year worth of paving, and very happy to see 97 miles, and our residents are equally happy to see it too. So thank you. With that, I'll move if there's no comments.
Okay, Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, no, we do not have any speaker cards.
Okay.
I'll second.
Councilmember Speak.
Aye.
Councilmember Steiner.
Aye.
Councilmember Casillas.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Richens.
Aye.
Mayor Daddario.
Aye.
And the item passes 5-0.
Okay. Moving on to communications from the public. This portion of the agenda is intended for general public comment on items within the council's jurisdiction that are not listed elsewhere on the agenda. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on these items. Please observe a 3-minute time limit for comments, and once called upon to speak, please state your name and city residence for the record. Ms. Edwards, do we have any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, yes, we do. We have 5 speaker cards and 1 written comments.
Thank you. Come on down.
Good evening, Mayor Daddario, Vice Mayor Richens, and council members. I remember when I first started to come to council meetings back in 2017, and there was a soft-spoken woman who would address the homeless issue. Virginia Caridi would advocate for them, and I would like to think that she planted the seed of possible solutions for the situation. Sorry, I get emotional. It was so rewarding to see the opening at Harrison Hope Shelter last week. All the efforts of so many people, including those of Karen Roper, along with Virginia, Karen Alexander, and Angela Hare, Melanie Blakeborough, and so many others to bring solutions to this situation. Corona is definitely a community who supports its community members. And for that, for those people that were there, is just, to me, it was like a dream come true. Especially with our rates of homelessness decreasing while other places it's increasing. It's just, thank you all for everything you've done to make that happen. That is just such a huge milestone. And I believe there's no such thing as coincidence. And I happened to look at a newspaper, that one over there, on May 19th. Probably it's the first newspaper I've looked at in years, actually. I just happened to see it as I was passing. And affordable housing is definitely needed in the Inland Empire area. This includes many aspects of housing, and as a reminder, the lowest rung on the affordable housing ownership is that of manufactured housing. And again, just as a reminder, it's an unusual situation where if the rent becomes out of control, people that fall behind become evicted, and they actually lose their homes and all the money that they've put into it and walk away with nothing, thereby possibly increasing the homeless count. So it's something that is definitely an issue. And I just want to thank all of those that have been involved in working towards efforts to pass the rent stabilization ordinance. I know they are, and I appreciate it beyond belief. And me being me, I just happened to see this the other day, and I want to leave you all with a smile. Okay. Just another way for home ownership. So just something funny, something you probably would expect from me. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Welcome.
Mayor, magistrates, chief, Pastor Chris. Now, I want to say wake up Philadelphians. You live in Babylon, but again, you guys know I love you. And I want to say I'm an alcoholic. Oh, wait a minute. That's the wrong meeting. But it seems kind of like, I think I just caught it on the way up here. It's like those meetings, that have a 4% chance of success, where you go and try to be abstinent from all the things that that God gave you, that you might be out of proportion using. But anyway, I just caught it because I thought I was here to tell you, and I thought other people came here to tell us that the things that were wrong that needed to be adjusted. But I just heard it from the mayor. I think it was like that we are prohibited from taking action. I just caught it. You know what I mean? I guess you guys are prohibited from taking action. But eventually got around, man. My child molester is in jail right now. Okay. So, but the same guy that came and, accused me of murder that, attempted, and that you guys moved on and wasn't true. But anyway, I got out of that and now I'm still prohibited from being at my church. You gave it to child molesters and gang members, but he's not allowed to take my house. Now, I told you guys that he was living in my house. He took it, but you didn't do nothing. But eventually he went and told on himself, because he's got to register. And I don't think he's allowed to be at my place. So now he's in jail. The murder cops came to the house today, the cold case. Remember I told you there was a gang member with a spirit of murder? Well, he'd already been involved in murders, I knew. But anyway, the cold case cops came for him today. And he's not there no more either. Again, I'm going to protect my church, no matter what the law says, and my family, and if you got to eat me over it, we'll do that. but you know what I mean? I got to do what God says. And I would hope that you guys would someday actually start doing what God says too. You know what I mean? We can't destroy families, you know, while we're pretending to go after crime. But we just let criminals go while we destroy families and fathers, you know, and give it to people that make bad decisions, like wives that would trade people that murder for people that have a spirit of condescension. You know what I mean? I'm going to get over that condescension. You know what I mean? I love you guys, and I don't mean to condescend to you. Chief, I don't mean to condescend to you. You know what I mean? But I've told you the crimes that, you know, he was doing. But I know that they didn't come because of you. I guess because you're prohibited from doing anything. I didn't know that. But anyway, $240,000 right now, my settlement with you guys, and we'll make this all go away. God bless you, man, okay?
Thank you. You're welcome. So before we call the next speaker, I wanted to acknowledge that we had a little bit of a power surge, and so some of the lights aren't working if it seems a little darker in here than normal. Just wanted to let everybody know that we're working on it. We're trying to get the lights fixed. But they'll probably be off for the rest of the meeting. So if it seems a little bit darker in here, that's why. Okay, Ms. Edwards, do we have any more speakers?
Yes, Mayor, we have 3 more speaker cards.
Perfect, thank you. Come on down.
Hello, Council. My name is Alan Vargas. I'm a resident here, and I did share these comments with the Councilwoman Casillas. So on May 5th, I had an incident with a friend involving the police, in which I would honestly label it as racial profiling in the way we do policing in our community. So I was hanging out with my friend. We were just chilling, hanging out in our car in our alleyway on May 5th, around 3 a.m., just doing stuff that young people do. When we were surrounded by 8 officers, one of them brightly shining their light and very poignantly asking, "What are you doing?" And we told them we were talking, and I smiled at them. And to our surprise, that seemed to annoy one of the officers, who then proceeded to act very annoyed toward us and act in a manner that's unprofessional. So we then proceeded to tell him, we're like, "Oh, we're talking. And he says, "Why are you here?" And then at that point, I was getting annoyed. I'm like, "Where would you like us to have a conversation?" I'm like, "In a tree, in the sky. This is my neighborhood. This is a place I call home." And the officers were also shining the light at other people hanging out in the garages. And I live in a low-income neighborhood. If y'all know where Penrose and Coda is, Councilwoman Casillas has gone there. She knows it's a low-income community full of people who are people of color. And when we have instances like this, where our police officers are walking around in groups at 3 a.m, talking to people who they deem suspicious, I honestly feel it's a disservice to the residents that call this place home, to have our officers just roaming around our streets at 3 a.m. in an area that they probably attributed, they're preventing crime or that sorts. But the fact is, that's not the case when it comes to other communities. And just because a community is low income and has, issues does not mean that we should just throw police as a solution. And when I was walking home, when my friend dropped me off, the same group of 8 police officers shined a light on me, and I had one person say, "Hello, I'm Officer Hernandez." And when you have someone identify themselves, you know where it's going. One of the officers said, "Do you live here?" And I'm like, "Yes, I live here." To then another officer said, "Can you show me where you live?" And some people say, "Oh, why didn't you film, or why didn't you do anything?" I'm like, I'm not taking out my phone at 3 a.m. because I don't want to become the next news statistic. And to the one officer sounded extremely amused, saying, "Oh, you live here." And I honestly think we need to do better as a city on how we address the relations between the community and the police, especially when it feels like it's not doing a service for anyone. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
I wasn't sure who was coming up next. So I'd also like to, congratulate all of us together on the shelter opening. It was wonderful to see everybody and think back from where we came from. And my recollection of Virginia is at these meetings is much different than her recollection of Virginia at these meetings. I don't recall her particularly being quiet. She was, we'll call it steadfast. She's just going to say what she's going to say. She's going to do what she's going to do. And at kind of I would say some of the beginning rumblings of this effort, she was being threatened with arrest by the former city manager for feeding homeless people in the park. So, we've come a long way. There was no other alternative. They had been booted from the former Orange County Rescue Mission shelter. And, so that everybody kind of moved to the park, and then they tried to kick them out of the park and chase it around and blaming it all on the county. To that end, the former city manager that did much damage that will take decades to repair was not walked out of this building by HR and the assistant city manager. So he was, I would say, he was forcefully self-resigned, I would say, is a good way to characterize it. But you sent out a press release and thanked him for his service. I can't say the same thing happened with Community Services Director Ann Turner. I will say right up front, if you want to fire a staff member, please, it's completely within your rights to do it. I understand why some people would want her fired. I get it. I understood. I've heard a lot of stories. I've talked to a lot of people over this last week. And I understand why it may not be a good fit. I understand why you may want to make a change. But it shouldn't have been done the way it was done. It didn't serve the city well. It didn't portray the city in the best light. This lady moved a lot of programs through in a couple of years, got a lot of stuff done. And I realize that at some level, she's not the most, she may not be the most cuddly person. She definitely rubbed some people the wrong way. I completely understand that from everybody that I've talked to, even people that really like her. So, but you should have given her a little bit more space and a little bit more respect, or a lot more. And it was the wrong way to handle it. It was the wrong way. If Talbert got to walk out and wasn't escorted out of the building after all the damage that he did, I can't even think about it. I mean, it's shocking to me. As image conscious as this city has been of late, to do something like that, it's just shocking. It shocks the conscience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Here comes trouble.
And council members, my name's Bob Young. I'm the co-chair of the Corona Annual Flag Day Celebration. And I live in Corona, obviously, and this is...
Good evening, Mayor and our council members. Tom Sherman here. Thank you.
I'm here to invite the council to Saturday's event, which is our fourth year since we started this, for a Flag Day at 10 o'clock at the Fire Training Center. And a little brief story how this came to be is 4 years ago, I took over the scouting routines for the Elks. And so I went and checked my book and I asked, what do I need to do to be the scout leader for Cubs and Boy Scouts? And they said, it's in the book. So I look, I go, oh, we have an annual ceremony at the lodge for 100 years, the exact same flag ceremony. And then it says you also will retire flags. Well, we've been gathering flags for years and years and years and not burning them and retiring them. And so what happened? I go in the back room and I found between 300 and 400 flags that needed to be retired. So I panicked and I went to the American Legion and I said, how about we get together and do this together? And what happened is they had a backlog. And by the time we were through that first year in 1999, we had 1,000 flags. And so what happened is my son, who happens to be the fire chief, as you know, he was at my house on Easter Sunday, and I said, Brian, I got a big problem. I don't know what I'm going to do. I got all these flags. We need to burn them and retire them the proper way. And how about getting a couple of fire engines? I'm not sure how we're going to do it at the Elks parking lot. And he said, that's a bad idea. He said, we have this big tower. It's called the fire tower. And so wow, it opened the whole world to us. And from that point, we developed the only city-wide Flag Day that's being conducted in Inland Empire right now. And I tell you what, it's been a great experience. And I want to invite you and the whole community. And I want to recommend highly that if you have grandchildren or children, bring them. It's very educational. Okay, Tom, add to that.
Just a couple of minutes here. Again, just like Bob said, very, very emotional to a lot of our community members, because this has become a very, for Bob and myself, a very heartfelt operation to do here in the city. For those that have not attended before, please come down and enjoy that festivity that we'll be putting on. Very patriotic, and it gives a great definition of what our American flag is about and what it has taken to where we are today. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you for your unselfish dedication to what you do for the city, and thank you very much.
I can tell you that I've attended that ceremony before, and I would like to echo that anybody that can, it is a great event to come out, and it's a great learning event, especially on how to properly retire a flag.
Mr. Mayor, if I have a question.
Yeah, please.
The gentleman, before you take off, if someone has a flag they would like to retire, so I have 3 of them in my garage right now. Do we bring them down? How do we get them to you?
If I had a little more time, I would have said that too. We, in the last 4 years, thanks to some great Eagle Scout projects, we've had flag retirement boxes dedicated to some of our nonprofits. There's one at the Elks. There's one at both American Legion posts.
Right.
At both of them, and they're great. I've emptied ours out in the last year twice at the Elks. So those will be going up in flames. And here's a little add-on, since we're a little extra time here. The first year with 1,000 flags, guess who I get a call from at 8 o'clock in the morning? The fire marshal. It's a non-burn day. Panic. So we've streamlined our ceremony. So Tom and I went together. We changed our script, and now the firefighters, thank God, have probably retired 2,500 flags the last 4 years. We do 13 flags for ceremonial purposes, representing each of the 13 original colonies. That's what we do now. So it keeps the ceremony moving.
Okay, so if anybody has a flag that they would like to retire, they can drop off at one of those 3 places.
Yeah, either Legion Post or the Elks.
Or the Elks.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Very, very good. Thank you. Have a safe evening.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Tony Finaldi, Corona resident. So I'm curious what the status of Fire Station number 2 design might be. I know the contract was awarded in January, if I'm not mistaken. It's been almost 6 months. Wondering if there's ever going to be an update. Should have been enough time to get some schematics done and some pretty pictures up on the screens to show us. So anyway, I don't expect an answer, but know that it hasn't been forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Edwards, are there any other speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, we do not have any more speaker cards. We just have the written comments.
Okay, would you mind reading that for me, please?
Yes, of course. Hello, Mayor and council members. Thank you to the mayor for recognizing us and letting our letters be read. We appreciate a chance to be heard. We have now been struggling with this party motel for about 8 months. We have lost so much time taking pictures and videos of the nuisance and disturbances. We have done everything we have been instructed to do. We have sent more than enough proof to prove how inappropriate this is. This is not how we wish to spend our lives. This is inappropriate use of our time or the city's or the law enforcement. We all have better things to do. No one wants to live next to a commercial motel in a quiet, private residential neighborhood. Every weekend and holiday is ruined, along with numerous days during the week. How can we relax from a hard week of work while people are partying next door? How do we make plans for our family to use our own yards when there's nonstop parties next door? We have to go to a hotel to get away from this nightmare motel. We can't even plan a birthday party because we don't know what may be going on at the motel. The renters are not supposed to smoke in the motel, so they smoke in the yard, which means their smoke is in our homes. This motel is not set up properly and is not managed properly by the Oregon residents, just looking to make a quick buck. It is extremely upsetting to go home when we see cars in the driveway and all over our street. Vendors continue to park backwards and to park in front of the motel. Trash cans are still put out too early and left out too long. We really don't enjoy being home and listening to all the loud screaming, foul language, horrific music, and noise. Again, please remember it's for nonstop from hours and hours and hours. We're constantly wondering what is going to happen because it causes us extreme anxiety. We don't need the honking for everyone's arrival or the constant comings and goings and U-turns. Our street is not a racetrack. Not everything is a police matter or even a code violations. The nuisance itself is a violation. We can't get away from it. Please understand how devastating this is. They have ruined the peace and enjoyment of our homes. It's becoming impossible to work from home. Many neighbors are trying to take care of elderly family members. We are just trying to live our lives. These Oregon residents have gotten away with continuing to destroy this neighborhood. If this was next door to you, surely you would want it to be stopped. We worked so hard to save up for a beautiful home in a peaceful neighborhood. We were very diligent and could never imagine that this home so far away from the freeway and not near any tourist attraction would be allowed to be turned into a party motel. People are not renting it to go to Disneyland or to tour Corona. They are renting it for all days and parties. And those comments will be attached to the meeting minutes for permanent record.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to public hearings. Item number 17 is a resolution adopting the City of Corona Utilities Department 2023 Wildfire Mitigation Plan and consideration of the City of Corona Fire Department's qualified independent evaluator report on the Utilities Department 2023 Wildfire Mitigation Plan. Do any of my council members want a staff report on this item? No? Okay, the public hearing is now open. Ms. Edwards, has the city clerk's office received correspondence regarding this item?
Mayor, we did not receive correspondence.
Ms. Edwards, did we receive any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, we did not receive any speaker cards.
Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Do I have any questions or comments from my colleagues?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Councilmember Speak? Aye. Councilmember Steiner?
Aye.
Amendment 2023-0002 to Title 17 of the Corona Municipal Code to amend the permitted land uses in the commercial zones listed in Chapter 17.33 and Chapter 17.35 to allow residential land use pursuant to Senate Bill 6 and Assembly Bill 2011. The applicant is the City of Corona. Does any council member want a staff report on this item?
And I don't necessarily want a staff report, but I do want to just express how I know that staff worked really hard to get to this point. And I've asked staff to put together a map of which commercial locations would be eligible for this, just so residents know what could there potentially be a change at one of these commercial locations, and that we currently don't have a choice. But again, I know that staff did a really good job of trying to, I guess, put the square peg in the round hole. But another example of state overreach in my eyes, but understand it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, do you have something to say?
I'd like to put the square peg in the hole, in the state's hole. This is just government leaders in California that are very lost and very confused, and they're dysfunctional. And I know our city and the staff is just complying with an obnoxious law. But this will hurt our city more than it will help. Thank you.
Okay. The public hearing is now open. Ms. Edwards, has the city clerk's office received correspondence regarding this item?
Mayor, we did not receive correspondence.
Okay. Ms. Edwards, did we receive any any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, we did not receive any speaker cards.
Okay. Public hearing is now closed. I would ask, do I have any questions or comments, but I think we already got that part out of the way. Do we have a motion? I'll second.
Councilmember Speak. Oh, yeah, they do.
Page 8.
All right, I'll read the dang thing. All right, recommendation that the city council adopt urgency ordinance number 3371, amend sections 17.33-030 and 17-35-020 of Title 19 zoning of the Corona Municipal Code to allow residential land uses in commercial zones pursuant to Senate Bill 6 and Assembly Bill 2011. And introduced by title only and waive full readings of consideration of an ordinance number 3372. First reading of an ordinance amending section 17.33-030 and 17.35-020 of Title 17 zoning of the Corona Municipal Code to allow residential land uses in commercial zones pursuant to Senate Bill 6 and Assembly Bill 2011. I'm never going to get Tom'd again.
Okay, please take the voice vote.
Councilmember Speak. Councilmember Steiner.
Aye.
Councilmember Casillas.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Richens.
No?
Mayor Daddario.
Aye.
And the item passes 4-1.
Okay, moving on to number 19, the public hearing, the specific plan amendment 2023-0002 to various specific plans to amend the commercial and business park zoning designations to allow residential land use pursuant to Senate Bill 6 and Assembly Bill 2011, City of Corona. Does any member want a staff report on this item? Okay, the public hearing is now open. Ms. Edwards, has the city clerk's office received correspondence regarding this item?
Mayor, we did not receive correspondence.
Ms. Edwards, did we receive any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, we did not receive any speaker cards.
Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Do I have any questions or comments from my colleagues?
Just again, want to remind everyone that the state is dysfunctional. This is going to hurt our city more than it's going to help. It's reckless development. It's sloppy building. We joke around in meetings like this because there's no choice. The state's put a gun to your head, but there's going to come a time in the future when someone says, when this happens, when a commercial building turns into housing and someone says, what the hell was someone thinking? And that future is coming. Thank you.
Okay, since Councilmember Steiner doesn't want to, I'll move. Yep.
I'm not seconding.
Okay. Adopt urgency ordinance number 3373, approving amendments to various specific plans to allow residential land uses in commercial and business park zoning, designations pursuant to Senate Bill 6 and Assembly Bill 2011. Introduced by title only and waive full reading of consideration of ordinance number 3374, first reading of an ordinance approving amendments to various specific plans to allow residential land uses in commercial and business park zoning designations pursuant to Senate Bill 6 and Assembly Bill 2011. Please vote.
Councilmember Speak. Aye. Councilmember Steiner.
Aye.
Councilmember Casillas.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Richens.
No?
Mayor Daddario.
Aye.
The item passes 4-1.
Okay, moving on to administrative reports. Item number 20, the community mural pilot project in Corona's Parks submission selection. Ms. Viola Van, Management Analyst 2, will present the item.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Viola Van, Management Analyst 2. Tonight, we are excited to bring back before you the Community Mural Project, a pilot program in Corona's Park Submission Selection. So we're asking the City Council tonight to provide feedback on the Community Mural Project art submission that will be presented before you, and to ask that you narrow the art selections to 2 submissions. I'd like to share the following quote, which states, "Great things are done by a series of small things brought together." Vincent van Gogh. And that's precisely what we're doing with this mural project, and that's precisely what the goal is. The project seeks to bring together our Corona community by showcasing local Corona artists and talent, by creating a mural at Promenade Park, as well as incorporating our wonderful volunteers to really contribute to a community project through displays of vibrant art that embodies Corona's rich diversity and history. And of course, this project ties into our city's strategic plan via Goal 5, which is creating a sense of place. The slide before you gives you a snapshot of our program selection process and what we have done and will do. In the fall of 2022, at our fall financial workshop, the City Council approved the launch of our Community Mural Project pilot program, and quickly thereafter, we opened a call for artists where we received 6 prospective mural submissions. City staff reviewed each submission and brought forth before our Parks and Recreation Commission 4 eligible submissions this past February, where they narrowed down the submissions to 3 prospective art pieces. Tonight, we are asking our City Council to assist us with narrowing down the 3 prospective art pieces to 2 eligible selections to be presented to our Corona community to conduct public voting. And finally, our community will select the final mural art piece that will be showcased at Promenade Park. Our community mural pilot project was open to Corona artists 16 years and older, and in the application process, as a part of the artist eligibility, a timeline of the necessary steps and phasing of the installation must have been included, in addition to an outline of how the artist would creatively incorporate our city's volunteers to help with the process. And if considered, the artist would be notified that their artwork would be moving forward in the process. And of course, within the artwork guidelines, we have some clear do's and don'ts for the prospective artwork. Some of the do's, the art should be family friendly. It should utilize bright colors. It should incorporate Corona's heritage, parks, events, and landmarks, and the art should resonate a sense of building community and highlight our city's cultural diversity. There should be inspiring imagery of nature and beauty, and most importantly, the art should be original, innovative, and fun. We are not looking for art that utilizes profanity or violent imagery. It should not advertise business, political views, or religion, and the imagery should not be copyrighted or trademarked. And as a reminder, it was decided back at our fall financial workshop that we would kick off the Community Mural Pilot Project at our restroom structure at Promenade Park. Now, this is where the fun starts. Again, we are asking the council tonight to choose 2 pieces of artwork that will move forward in our process for selecting our final mural that we'll call Promenade Park home. So some things to keep in mind when reviewing the art pieces. Did the artist meet the city's criteria? Did the artist adhere to a Corona theme? And does the artwork provide a creative and original concept? So without further ado, first up, we have artist number 1. Elizio Silva has completed 2 murals in the city of Colton, and he's the artist behind the La Sierra Passages 91 Freeway Underpass murals in Riverside, California. They are a contemporary artist, teacher, and author of Filipinos of Greater Philadelphia, known internationally of the Gintong Kasaysayan Filipino town mural, recognized by LA Weekly as one of the 20 iconic murals of Los Angeles. Elizio has been a Corona resident since 1994. The proposed concept art by Elizio Silva honors the city's founders, its rich heritage and legacy as the lemon capital of the world, a cosmopolitan suburban community which also hosted 3 world-class road races. They identify home is Circle City, and it reveals the artist's own journey as a resident of Corona for almost 3 decades, as well as finding a place where they can call home despite the common experience they share with other migrants from distant shores who has to navigate through multiple worlds on a daily basis, yet eventually circle back to Corona as the city they now call home.
Ms. Phan, can I ask just a quick question?
Sure.
This isn't going to be like a wrap or anything. These artists are going to paint
Correct.
by hand.
They will sketch and they will paint it by hand. The artists utilized the sun, floral, and vine motifs as a common thread which ties the visuals of the city of Corona's rich heritage and history in order to integrate them harmoniously with the site being a public park. And that's artist number 1. We can come back to this.
Will these murals have like, are you reading my mind? You do, you are. Like little placards that kind of explain what the image is?
We plan to have a little placard up on there to honor the artist, of course, and also have a short description of their art.
Or maybe a QR code.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
So you could actually like be able to get maybe something that would interpret the
Or
what
like
you're seeing.
a fuller explanation of everything.
Yeah, I mean, they're frequently used to just redirect to a page and it would have a description of what you're seeing.
We can do that. All right, moving on to artist number 2, Catherine Duncan. Catherine Duncan is a professional painter and instructor with 10 murals in their portfolio. They have fond memories of Promenade Park with their kids her kids had went to a school nearby. Each year, she works with about 80 to 100 7th graders at Home Gardens Academy to beautify a specific area of their school, and she has worked with adult volunteers to create reproductions of historic Corona areas, citrus crate labels for the Temescal Valley. She has worked on murals at Bernice Todd Elementary in the city of Corona, DeLeo Regional Sports Park through a grant from the El Cerrito Community Library with the Riverside County Library System. Catherine is a Corona resident. Catherine plans to bring color and fun to Promenade Park and has incorporated all the fun elements that they have of the park with their family into the art concept for the mural. The styling of the front side facing the street is that of a vintage citrus crate label. They call their mural simply as Welcome to Promenade Park, where you will find a nod to our beautiful city's natural features and history. The colorful ribbons of play wrap the other 3 sides of the building, and in each ribbon, they express the following activities in the elements: sports, baseball, basketball, and tennis, activities, hiking, dog walking, music, chess, playing, swings, playground, kites, parties / celebrations, and Corona, lemon groves, citrus, birds of paradise. And last but not least, artist number 3, Ryan Nguyen. The artist Ryan Nguyen goes by the name Revel Murals and is a self-taught mural artist. Their portfolio consists of work that they have done for the National Wildlife, Google, and Netflix, and the Santa Ana Zoo, to name a few. They have been a Corona resident for over 15 years, and they attended CNUSD schools and graduated from Corona High School in 2014. The artist portrays their artwork as life in Corona and connects to its rich history of the city. The wall-facing promenade displays a classic car used to race down Grand Avenue coming out of the field of oranges and the park's iconic hills. The entrance wall to the bathroom structure shows the city's logo brought to life with color and detail. The baseball player connects and inspires as he hits a home run over the Circle City from the park. And lastly, the youth of the community will be able to connect to their local school's mascot on the back of the building. So what are our next steps? Now we're going to narrow down to 2 artists based upon their artwork. Once it is decided, staff will provide our council's feedback to the artists. And finally, the Corona community will choose the final artwork for Promenade Park by way of public voting through our various social media outlets. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I'll start with my colleagues first. Councilmember Speak. Do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, just a comment. I want to say, first of all, thank you to everybody that put in for this. This is really a great thing. Really can't wait to see whichever one gets picked. I do have a favorite, but I just want to say that, to say thank you for everybody that submitted. It's really neat to see so much talent that we have, here in the city.
Yeah, Ms. Van, I just wanted to know, how come we just don't send all 3 to the community and let them decide which one of the 3? How come we have to narrow it down to 2?
We could do that if that's what our council chooses to do.
Well, I mean, all 3 of these folks went through a lot of work, and I have a favorite too, but I just think
I do have a little issue with one of them if we're going to do that, but there's a couple things.
Those are my comments.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with going forward with 2. I think that there's 2 that are very much, they separate a little bit.
I think that making it between 2 would probably be easier for the selection. But a question is, are these images, are they good to go, or can suggested edits happen, or how does that? Just because, yeah, I'm curious.
We can totally provide your feedback tonight back to the artists, and we can totally have them kind of adjust according to what the comments are.
Okay. Well, I like the idea of moving forward with 2, and I also have a favorite, but I'm comfortable with narrowing it down to 2.
Are we going to say our favorites?
I don't know. Are we doing that yet?
We're not there yet. Did you have any comments that you wanted to provide?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
So I think I'm extremely jealous because there's obviously a lot of talented people here in Corona. I will say what I think is on everybody's mind, and I'll take the hit for it. I think that if the oranges were substituted with lemons, it might change the vote a little. I'm in favor.
And one other thing, the very last, the cougar mascot is from Norco.
Yeah, that was gonna. I don't know how you put a shark in that one, but
Yeah.
that was another little bit of a gripe
Yeah, especially
that I had
being
as
in
well.
the middle, I think we would get hung
Yeah.
up by a couple of the schools in town.
But I actually agree with Councilmember Steiner. I think that there's only 3 selections that the community could most assuredly handle that vote. I mean, it's gonna be more people voting than the 5 of us, and you're only looking for the top 1. Is that correct?
Correct.
So I would suggest that my suggestion would be that we submit all 3 and allow the public to vote.
We end up with a mural with an orange. Or a cougar.
Well,
That's
tho-
for Norco.
That's why I would suggest that we ask if the artist could edit that.
I'm saying the bid has to come back to us again to see if it's, I think that here, the instructions were pretty clear. It asked us for 2, I'm comfortable with both.
Could you put the second artists up again?
Of course.
For me, please. Okay. Well, why don't we just take a quick consensus? Do we want to submit all 3, or do we want to vote on 2? Okay, Jim, we're outnumbered on this one. Okay, so I will just ask your top 2. Okay. Councilmember Steiner? 1 and 2. Councilmember Casillas?
1 and 2.
I know you just want 1. Okay. Yeah. I think that the consensus is the first and the second artist. And I don't mind saying I thought the first one was my favorite. Although the car looked really sweet. Yeah. Okay, so I think that we have provided the direction.
When the citizens vote, are they going to know what they're looking at for number? Can we go through number 1 real quick?
Of course.
Vice Mayor, are you asking to do a narrative of?
Yeah, because there's a lot going on here. The first wall is the 5 founders. Who? Yorba's on the left. I'm guessing that's Kellogg on the far right. If you go to the next slide. You got some really cool things. You have Johnny Cash when he played here in 1986. You have the theater. Laurel and Hardy were at the opening of that theater. You have the road races, the first school, the Hotel Temescal, Jameson's house up at the upper left, Maxine Peaster. You have the parades in Main Street. Like, this really captures Corona, and if there can be a narrative so the citizens know what they're voting for.
Well, I think that that's part of the plaque that's going to be mounted with whatever artist is chosen.
But they have to vote for it. Like, your common citizen's going to see a picture of Laurel and Hardy and say, why are Laurel and Hardy on the wall?
Goes out to the community. Will the artist's explanation of the mural be attached to it?
We can definitely do
Okay.
that.
Great.
Cool.
I think that there's a great picture of Johnny Cash that I would use instead. I think probably the chief knows which one I'm talking about, but I don't know if that's appropriate.
I have that one in my bathroom.
It's a great picture, but that actually is the picture of Johnny Cash playing while he was in Corona.
Okay. Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, yes, I have 2 speaker cards for this item.
You can't put them back up? It's kind of good to have a visual. All right, so I guess, there you go, perfect. I agree, that perfectly captures Corona, absolutely beautiful. Number 2, the Welcome to Promenade Park. It's really elegant in its simplicity. Look. And it does something else. It respects the doors. I assume, I don't remember this bathroom in that park, but I think those doors actually exist. Now go back to the first one, the same elevation, and look. They ignore the doors. They won't look like that. How do you paint over wrought iron? See it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, food for thought, guys. But I like this one a lot better. It's a lot of complexity. Be interesting to see how they actually paint all the black and white imagery of the Corona race. That would be interesting, right? That's hard to do. Also, question, are these going to be lit at night? I think they should be lit. If they're dark, they might get graffitied and everything else too, besides. Plus, it'll be highlighted all the time. Again, food for thought. I know, I just added cost to the project. I'm sorry. Thanks.
Thank you.
Tony.
Evening, Joe Morgan, 2063 Rand. It's an interesting discussion to hear that it would be too cumbersome to put it to the public first. When we just got through the utility box project, when it went to the public first with many more entries, and then you guys heard what the public had to say and then chose from what the public had to say. So it seems like this is exactly the opposite process that you did about a month and a half ago, something like that, month and a half, 2 months ago. So it's, I don't, it's a little weird that, that everybody in this building decides the ones that they like, and then they get to decide from the ones that you like. And it doesn't seem that very community oriented. I mean, it's always so funny to me that everybody in this city seems to obsess about a race that happened 3 times 100-something years ago, when literally right next to Griffin Park was a racetrack that was there for 15, 20 years, had all kinds of famous NASCAR people come through there, had quite a little history. It was a pretty well-known racetrack at the time, had a crazy big motocross track. I mean, it's between Buchanan, Wimbledon, right at the corner. I mean, if you look down from Griffin Park, those apartments and townhomes right there, where that was turn 3, and it was a half-mile oval. So, it's just weird that close to an actual racetrack that ran for a long time with a lot of famous people, a lot of history that happened there. You're gonna talk so much about something that happened 3 times. I guess you're kind of a bigger fish in a smaller pond in 1913 or something, but, there wasn't that many cars, but, it's always just odd to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards for the public?
Mayor, we do not have any more speaker cards.
Okay. Ms. Van, I think you have direction.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Legislative matters, there are none. Boards and commissions, reports from city council commissioners and staff. What? For the Library Board of Trustees, there are none. And then moving on to the Planning and Housing Commission report, the conditional use permit CUP 2021-0004 to allow a drive-through and walk-up window coffee shop, Starbucks, within an existing commercial center located at the southeast corner of Green River Road and Dominguez Ranch Road in the neighborhood commercial district of the Sierra de Oro specific plan. The applicant, Jessica Steiner of Bickle Group Architecture. I'm guessing there's no relation? Yeah. Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, yes, I have 1 speaker card for this item.
Okay.
What a shock that I'm up here again. I just wanted to comment a little on the process as I saw it play out at the Planning Commission. It was quite a thing. It was one of those deals where, it was painful. It was painful to watch. At first, the plan was offered up. Hey, this is as good as it gets. We worked a long time on it. there was a little bit of back and forth about who really ought to yield to who, how the applicants and the staff got it right, and Planning Commission really ought to stay in their lane, all this kind of stuff. I just, it was a painful beginning, but out of it came some understanding, and the project got better. I don't think anybody, I think it's like they say about many things, I don't think anybody was super happy about this use and that place. Maybe the applicants are happy, so I'm happy for them. But, that this has the potential to be great, and also has the potential to kind of trash that center a little bit at certain times. But out of it came improvements. And that's what I see consistently from the Planning Commission, is that they dig in and they work with the applicants and they work with the staff to try to push these things to a better place. And so I just want to honor that, and the work. What Commissioner Alexander went and sat in a parking lot in Orange County for how many hours, watching the flow of how one of these centers worked and how one of these models worked. So, I mean, that kind of dedication deserves to be talked about. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so would my colleagues like to take no action or set this item for review? And I'm going to start because I would actually like to set this item for review. I've got a lot of concerns about the traffic, and not the traffic inside the center, but the traffic caused by the applicant's building, what it's going to do to Green River Road. And I've gotten some mixed information from the reports, and I would like to have an opportunity to have a further discussion about this.
My point of view is I watched all 3 Planning Commission meetings from beginning to end. I think one of them was 3 hours long. I was not happy with the initial response from the applicant. I thought that staff worked really well with the Planning Commission to come up with a really good project. I mean, as good as it can be. I hear your concern about the impacts on Dominguez Ranch or Green River. The vehicles are going to be exiting this location. They don't get released in a wave. They're going to be 1, 2, 3. I think it's 90 seconds, if I remember right. It was every 90 seconds they would be released. The signal timing at Dominguez Ranch is, I mean, you're talking about adding between 3 and 5 cars on a slow turn. So I don't see this as being a reason to delay this, even though I wasn't really pleased with one of the applicants. It wasn't Ms. Steiner. She did a great job. It was, I think, the property manager that was a little frustrated toward the end, and I wanted to kind of yell through the screen at one point that probably wasn't the best thing to lecture folks that you're trying to work with. But I'm not interested in setting this for any additional review. I think Planning Commission did a great job, and I'm happy to push it forward with no comment.
Okay.
I also watched all 3 Planning Commission sessions, and the first session, the commissioners ripped it apart, and it just, quite honestly, their original submission was horrible. And I watched Karen and Craig just tear it up, righteously and rightfully tear it apart. And then the second meeting, the Starbucks people tried to bully it through, and it was bullshit. It was just, they came and said, we are going to tell you how it's going to be, and they presented. I wouldn't have let them in the building. And the next thing you know, Craig and Karen and Woody and team tore it apart again. And they tried to say Starbucks won't change, we have our standards, and then come along for the third meeting when they introduced the permeable asphalt and and some changes. That's when it got better. And my faith right now is in the planning commissioners, and thank goodness we have such good planning commissioners, because it was a failed project. And there wasn't a planning commission 10 years ago that would have spoke up like our guys spoke up. So I'm okay with it now, but I wasn't okay with it then.
Okay. Well, that doesn't require a vote. I think 4 people want to move it forward, so take no action. Okay, Parks and Recreation Commission, there are none. Before we get to our regional meeting update, I just wanted to notify the public. Councilmember Speak was unable to attend some of his meetings that were listed here, so there will not be 4 updates. And all of us are torn up about that. So there will be only 2 updates, the first coming from Councilmember Jackie Casillas. I try to say it with a straight face too. Councilmember Casillas on the Western Riverside Council of Governments, WRCOG, meeting of June, what?
Yeah, good luck with that.
Of June 5th, 2023. Councilmember Casillas.
Thank you, thank you. This was, actually, we spent more time in closed session than open session. So I just have a quick little thing, 2 things to report back out on. One is that the executive committee recommended that at the General Assembly, which is coming up at the end of June, that we appoint Chris Barajas from Jurupa Valley, Rita Rogers from Paris, and Brenda Denstead from Western Municipal Water District as the WRCOG Chair, Vice Chair, and Second Vice Chair, respectively, for the fiscal year 23-24. And lastly, we talked about the 2023 WRCOG legislative platform. This is a new thing that we are recommended. It came out of the strategic plan goals. And the idea is to serve as an advocate for the subregion and do so at the state level. What's interesting, though, is that the executive committee is made out of 1 representative of all from each city on the Western Riverside County. And so with such a diverse group of people, there aren't a whole lot of things that we can agree on to advocate for. But the platform, the guiding principles are essentially, the big thing is to seek funding for our region. We can all agree that we all need money. we can all agree that we want to advocate for that. So, I mean, there's more to it, but that's in general where we're at. And the General Assembly is coming up end of June, which is the 1 meeting a year where everyone from all the represented cities come together to vote on the following year. And that's it for WRCOG.
Thank you. And the last update is going, oh boy. The last update is going to be from Vice Mayor Tom Richens on the Riverside Transit Agency RTA board meeting. Not doing the Lord's work over there.
Yeah, I wasn't doing his work this meeting. Salt Lake Steiner was on special assignment that day, so I filled in to the RTA board meeting. And the good people there, they let us know that to run the buses in Riverside County, it's $102 million per year. So it's quite significant. The good thing for our area is they're increasing bus service. And one of the nerds over there said that, well, these guys show up in suits and glasses and you just don't want to listen to them anymore. But they, kind of like you all.
Don't let them bait you.
But, so anyhow, they announced 25-cent rides for summertime. So if you can't find the change in the cushions, then it's only 25 cents. I don't know why they can't just drop the last 25 cents and make it free for everyone. The little fun fact, the buses break down a lot. These things run a lot of hours, and there are 3 shifts of mechanics always working on buses. I thought that was really cool. And then, I was going to add some more, but I think I'll just leave it at that and say thank you.
Okay. Good job, Tom. Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public on the regional updates?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards.
Okay. City attorney's reports and comments. Mr. Dirtliff, do you have any comments? City manager reports and comments. Mr. Ellis, do you have any comments?
Mayor, just one quick comment. We have a new member of our team, Brett Channing, who's our new assistant city manager. Wanted to introduce him tonight and welcome him to Corona. He comes to us from Lake Forest, and we're really excited to see all that Brett can accomplish for us over the next months and years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Okay, moving on to item number 28, the appointment to the Planning and Housing Commission. Councilmember Casillas will announce her appointment.
Thank you. I have the honor of nominating Miss Marie Vernon to the commission, to the Planning and Housing Commission. She's here with us tonight. Ms. Vernon currently serves as a program developer for All Hours Adult Care, which provides safe and affordable housing options for seniors, as well as care coordination for the most needy in our community. All Hours Adult Daycare or Adult Care is dedicated to helping individuals improve or maintain choice, independence, and quality of life through outreach and relationships built on trust and respect, inclusive of race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, and disability. The organization serves as an essential partner in the continuum of care, which we know is critical as we address homelessness. And she is a fearless program director, developer at this organization. She's also a member of the Riverside Fair Housing Council Planning Committee and a member of the Safe Housing Network, as well as a number of other organizations. She's lived in Corona for how many years now, Marie? 28 years. And I am honored to nominate her for this commission. So with that, I will nominate Ms. Marie Vernon to the appointment of Planning and Housing Commission.
I'll second.
Okay. Ms. Vernon, would you like to say anything?
Can we vote on her and then she'll say?
Okay.
Councilmember Speak?
Aye.
Councilmember Steiner?
Aye.
Councilmember Casillas?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Richens?
Aye.
Mayor Dario?
Aye.
And the item passes 5-0.
Now, Ms. Vernon, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, council members. I would like to say that I am honored to be nominated and now voted in as a member of the Housing and Planning Commission. My passion for 38 years is to be a property inspector. I'm a certified real estate appraiser. My work is with individuals who are homeless, and I visited the Harrison House grand opening, and it nearly brought me to tears because it is also something that is in my future plans for my organization, which is the Legacy Foundation that our family has built. So we are actually, we were amazed to see that it was already there. It was the vision that I'd had from years ago. But I look forward to sitting on the Planning Commission. It's exciting to know what is coming through the city of Corona. When I was a resident of Whittier for over 10 years, I would do appraisals here and drive the neighborhood, and I call and find out, or what's going to be built here, what's going to be built there. So when we found our home, it was quite interesting to go through that process and sit in on planning meetings. I hope to serve with honor and with dignity and give a true voice for the rest of the community. And thank you very much, Jackie.
Well, welcome to the Planning Commission.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yep. Well, then we probably should have waited for that before we voted, but you guys wanted to push that through. Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, yes, I have one speaker card for this item.
I know.
Joe Morgan, 2063 Ren. One of the things I really like about the Planning Commission is that the individual members it's almost like a Swiss Army knife. They all bring perspectives, and they all kind of team up, and it's fun to watch them each bring it to the table and lift it up. And I look forward to hearing from Ms. Vernon, that you're going to be sitting at the table. So I look forward to hearing from you. So thank you very much. Welcome to the Planning Commission.
Okay, moving on. Do any of my colleagues have any comments for this evening? Yeah. Yeah. Not on the evening, but this evening. Do you have any comments? Of course you do.
I'll just be quiet. Just close your ears while I tell you what freeways to avoid this weekend. Let's see, just one item, which is there's going to be a full weekend nighttime closure of the eastbound 91 between Green River and Surface Club, starting at Saturday at 1 a.m. and it'll go 1 to 7 a.m. And then on Sunday, it's also 1 to 7, and on Monday, it'll be 1 to 5 a.m. However, one thing that's not been widely publicized, there will be an exit at Green River for Corona residents, that if you live in that area, you'll be able to get off there. I wouldn't highly count on it because I think there's going to be a lot of people there. But I can tell you the RCTC worked really hard to try and minimize this, especially not having daytime closures. I kind of threw a fit when these, because they have to do some closures in order to put up the false work. But to leave it open during the day was, I think, a big win, and then be able to shut down the exit on Green River so we didn't see the thousands and thousands of cars travel down Green River and Foothill to avoid this. So though we'll make backup into other parts of the county a little bit more difficult, I was happy to see that we prioritized our local residents this time. So that's it. Thank you. Oh, and if you want to know more, go to rctc.org, 7191 closures for all the details and maps.
Councilmember Steiner?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank the community services team for the great community cleanup we had along Border Avenue, along the channel. Another good turnout, and just appreciate everybody's work. Thank the citizens as well. I wanted to give a shout out to Savat Kamfu, our Public Works Director. He drove in on a Saturday from Fontana to meet with a few of our residents about some signage they were looking for on their street. I really appreciated that, Savat. And then a couple days later, he got an email. I was CC'd on it about 11:30 at night, and 11:45, Savat's responding to it. So thank you for your dedication, Savat. Also, Megan's Organic Market, our third dispensary, opened up a couple weeks ago, and the owners of that dispensary, along with the owners of the other dispensaries, keep mentioning Jay Eastman, our employee in community development, and they just say how great he was to work with through the process. So, Joanne, you got a really good one there. Hold on to him. And then just thanks to everybody who helped get the homeless shelter opened up. I know that crossed all divisions, and yeah, it was a really beautiful day, and you all put in so much work, so thank you very much. That's it.
I just want to mimic Steiner on the homeless shelter. It was a beautiful day, and I don't know if you guys watched Channel 7 News, but I think they went on for like 4 or 5 minutes on the success of the shelter, or 3, if anyone's counting. But they covered the event, they covered the shelter, and then they interviewed Karen Roper, and she was just a wealth of knowledge. And then the last person was Steiner, and he just built right on top of it. He challenged other cities to follow in our footsteps. And it's beautiful when we're the ones blazing the trail. Other cities follow in our footsteps. Thank you.
So I wanted to thank my council member colleagues for putting up a great event for the shelter grand opening. I was unable to attend. I was on vacation. I did watch the video when I had cell service. I saw all the pictures online, was pleasantly surprised that we even got Vice Mayor in a suit and tie. And so thank you guys all for stepping in and doing a great job. Super happy with that. Terribly upset that I missed it, but it is what it is. I had a great time on vacation, so that was good. Just wanted to shout out that on this Saturday from 9 to 11, I'm going to be hosting a town hall here at the Historic Civic Center Theater. Looking forward to residents coming out with their questions and having a conversation. And just wanted to make sure that I highlighted again the flag retirement ceremony this Saturday at the Public Safety Center. It's going to be a great event, and come out because you will learn quite a bit, and it is a very patriotic event. So thank you, gentlemen. I know it's going to be a great event. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting. The next meeting is going to be... Yeah, I just noticed that there's a
Sorry,
typo here. The next
it's
meeting
June
is going to be
June 21st.
June 21st, 2023, and this meeting is adjourned.